days, concluding day two at the Downtown Omni in Dallas. We've got Ken Capps with us, Football Writers Association of America, Bo Carter, National Football Foundation, two of the Metroplex's top writers. We're going to talk about what we've learned, again, after a couple of days with 8 of the 16 SEC schools. We are here thanks to the generosity and the great support of all of our sponsors, which you can find on sidelines.live. Namely, our principal sponsor for SEC Media Days, Web-Footed Kennels in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Chris Aiken and the great folks up there. Known Chris about 30 years. If you're looking for a hunting dog, they have litters on the ground. You'll find out when the next litters are coming. Hunting dogs, labs. He's even worked a miracle with my friends German Wirehair. But Web-Footed Kennels, Jonesboro, Arkansas. They are proud sponsors of SEC Sideline Sports Network and SECU, and also RumbleBoxingGym.com, Midtown Memphis. Classes every day. Boxing, hey, how you fight is how you live. Check the QR code out on the screen. Also, Gaddis Home Innovation, George Gaddis. Anything you have, you want to put the home entertainment center, the man cave, home security cameras, anything. Gaddis Home Innovation. All of our sponsors, we thank you. To everybody watching. So we'll get started. Ken, yeah, today started off first thing this morning with Kirby Smart and Georgia. Everybody, they've had a stronghold on the SEC the last few years, but they can't beat Alabama in Atlanta. I thought Kirby Smart was interesting. After that, you had Tennessee and Josh Heupel, and then Brent Venables, Oklahoma, who, again, did not get a football lobotomy when he left Clemson going to Norman. Right. I got 10 wins last year. Oklahoma, top 10 classes, back-to-back. They're going to be ready to play. And then we closed out with Eli Drinkwitz. So you had 4 teams today that most intelligent people would say have a damn good shot of making the college football playoff this coming year. You being the great writer, the great scribe, you sit up front like kids at mass, but you get the best pictures. And you've met our soon-to-be guest from the mother country, the mothership from Ireland, covering college football. Not only is it big in America, but it's got a global reach. But what's the takeaway from day 2? And by the way, Coach Saban had his credentials today. Right. So did we.
Well, see,
you gotta have them.
See, I even, this is how I take notes.
Yeah.
You know? And so I even brought my notes because there's a lot going on today. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you guys didn't know, you probably seen it, but it's still a funny story. Yesterday, Coach Saban, when he comes to SEC Media Days, it's like parting of the Red Sea.
Yeah.
He walks in, and but yesterday that didn't happen. And he, turn down your phone.
No, I was trying to turn it off.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
And we're on the air here.
I'm sorry.
And but anyway, he can't get in. He can't get in the media area yesterday because he's just a lowly media guy like us now, And they won't let him in. Omni Hotel Security won't let him in because he doesn't have his credential.
Yeah.
They send him back to his hotel room to get his credential. But I give Coach Saban credit because he said that he appreciated the guy for doing his job.
That's right.
So he didn't chew the guy out.
Yeah.
He wasn't mean to him. He said, I appreciate the guy for doing his job. Well, obviously, he came down today, had his credential, got right on the SEC network, and here I thought was the big news that started out. He predicted today, the GOAT predicted today, it'll be Texas and Georgia in the SEC championship game come December.
Yeah.
So, wow, what a big piece of pressure for what's it moving by itself.
It's
amazing.
It's got the Holy Spirit.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what
I'm off the producer. That's what.
Yeah. What pressure on the University of Texas to be playing, to be predicted to play in the championship game first year in the SEC. But I thought was interesting today, it was so much talk about Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Josh Heupel, the last Oklahoma quarterback to win a national championship.
Yep.
Okay, he's going back home to Oklahoma with the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah.
And he not only was Coach Venables, his coach while he was a player, but he also coached with the Venables at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And so he's pretty excited about that. His players said they were very excited about playing for him in Norman. But then Brent Venables gets up.
Yeah.
Okay? His SEC debut. And I tell you, I like Brent Venables because he breathes fire.
Yeah.
And that's always been my pet peeve at the OU Texas OU game, whichever side you're on there, is that I always feel like that Oklahoma comes out just breathing fire and just ready to just run over people. And Texas kind of comes out and they need to come out with a lot more intensity.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he starts getting asked questions about the OU Texas game. And somebody asked him the question, which I thought was a good question. How do you think that the Texas OU game changes with its move to the SEC? And here's what he said, and I wanted to make sure I got it right. Here's what he said, and I just thought this was such an amazing amazing quote. He goes, "It's not going to change at all. It's as deep-seated and hate-filled and emotional of a rivalry as there is in all of college football." Now, you don't hear hate-filled very often from a podium.
Yeah.
So, I think he's right.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of rivalries in the SEC. You think about Texas is going to start playing Arkansas again this year.
A lot of hate there.
And so I think Brent Venables, he's honest. To say what he's saying.
Yes, he did.
But
very.
Oklahoma's beaten Texas 6 of the last 7 years.
Yes.
And that's the Texas people, as you said yesterday, have got to learn to get emotionally attached to that team. And the night games. But I don't think it'll take more than a game or two for them to realize we got to up our game. And if we don't, we're going to be irrelevant. And Texas is not going to want to let that happen. And I'm looking around at the SEC. Brent Venables' career, 10 years at Clemson.
Yep. He
was at Oklahoma before that. He's back at OU as the head coach. Did he say anything that kind of caught you off guard today? He's got a new quarterback. No more Dylan Gabriel. He's gone to Oregon. He's got, Jackson Arnold. That's the highest rated quarterback Oklahoma's ever, or at least offensive player they've ever brought in.
And you know where he's from? Flower Mound, Texas, which is right here in the Metroplex.
Yeah, Flower Mound.
That's what it's called. We call it the Mound. We call it the Mound here in the Metroplex.
Yeah. Well, there's more quarterbacks and players. Quarterbacks, probably 20% of the quarterbacks and maybe 25% of D1 schools are from the state of Texas.
Right.
That doesn't surprise me at all. What Oklahoma compared to Texas? No, Texas we're going to hear from tomorrow.
Right.
Steve Sarkisian. But who's better right now, better prepared to come into the SEC and hang tough for a potential 17-game season if you have to do that to win a national championship?
Well, I think right now it's Texas.
Yeah.
I would you got and Jackson Arnold is in the same spot Quinn Ewers was, 3 years ago.
Yep.
And he played a little bit last year, but this is his first year coming in as a starter. And I asked him, what do you think about starting your first Texas OU game?
Yeah.
And he was like, man, I'm excited. I've never seen a stadium like that before, where half of it's orange and half of it's red. And so he's going to come in, and they're going to come after him because the defense for Texas is going to be good again this year. But is the secondary going to be good? If Texas hadn't gotten beat in the secondary by Dylan Gabriel last year, they'd have been 13-1.
Yeah.
But Dylan Gabriel marched down the field and just ripped the secondary. And there's going to be a guy, Jahdae Barron, from the defensive back for Texas, coming up tomorrow, and I'm going to talk to him about that because the secondary, that to me is the biggest weakness for Texas again, or the biggest question mark, but I think it still is a weakness, is the secondary about getting beat deep and just constantly.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I thought Venables was great. He does tell it like it is. And of course, he's got Danny Sussman coming back,
Yeah,
which is all American, all everything, linebacker.
back-to-back 100+ year tackle stats.
Right.
Pretty strong. And then the one Bowman, your safety on
Billy Bowman.
Billy Bowman. And the question is, your secondary is only as good as your defensive front.
Correct.
You got to be 2 and 3 deep on the front seven on defense in the SEC to even have a chance to get to Atlanta. You know, Texas last year with Bo Davis was awesome on the defensive line. Venables is a great schemer. He's a great mind. Jeff Levy's gone as offensive coordinator. He's going to be coaching at Mississippi State. Talk about the new offensive coordinator. And we know Jackson Arnold, he's got all the talent in the world, but he's going to be in the SEC. But it's not like he's afraid of competition.
No. And, they've also got the number one running back recruit that is going to come. What's his name, Bo? Do you remember?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up because, he's going to play right now. They're not going to hold him back. And but Texas, filled back up the running back room, filled up the wide receiver room.
Yeah.
And so you asked me the question. I think Texas is more prepared right now. But God, it's not going to change at all. October 12th, always the second weekend in October. That's where it's going to come down to again. And it doesn't matter. It's always that old just cliche. Throw out the record books, throw out who's ever better or worse. But God, we can't take you anywhere. You just
stretching.
But after going to Javier's last night, guys, this guy went to Javier's last night. That's a high dollar Mexican food joint here in Dallas. I didn't get to go.
It was really good, and I'm definitely going to have to ride many miles on the bike and run to learn that. But I had flounder, I had red snapper. I highly recommend Javier's in Dallas. I think it's near SMU's campus.
Yes, it is. It is.
So we're talking Oklahoma, and there's a big media presence downstairs. A lot of Oklahoma people.
Yes.
The Sooner Nation, they are so ready to get into the SEC.
Yes.
I think they're chomping at the bits to do it. So again, we started off first thing this morning with Georgia. You covered Oklahoma.
Yep.
And
Texas.
Today.
And A&M.
Yeah.
Well, they're coming up.
But today you covered OU
and Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back first before we get to Tennessee. Talking about Georgia, Kirby Smart. He's got they're used to playing and being in the role of the hunted. Carson Beck. This is like his 4th year at Georgia. He could have left. I think he was starting some. Stetson Bennett got the job. He stuck through it all. He's still a Georgia quarterback. He may be the number 1 pick in the draft. Georgia, talent-wise, if you look at the blue chip index, Ohio State's number 1. 90% of their roster is 4 or 5 stars. Number 2 is Alabama at 88%. Number 3 is Georgia at 80%. Can Georgia do it again? People picking Coach Saban, Georgia versus Texas. You agree with that?
Right now,
at this moment,
sitting right here in room 645,
5:24 p.m. Central Time, Greenwich Mean Time.
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
that's right. Yes, but look, it could be a 17-game season if you make it that if you make it all the way to the national championship.
Yeah.
Anything can happen between then, and that's why you've got to have depth. Yeah. And if people get hurt, quarterbacks get hurt. Who's backing up Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma? I know it's not Arch Manning.
No. Yeah, that's the difference in them in Texas. Is Dexter Murphy transferred over into the ACC,
mm-hmm.
and NC State, is that where he is?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, their quarterback. They've got Grayson McCall. From Coastal Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He's at NC State. So, I just think the quarterback room at Texas, I agree with you. Texas is better suited right now, coming in to the SEC to compete immediately. Oklahoma lost all 5 starters from the offensive line last year. Dylan Gabriel got a bunch of money with NIL, we're told, to go to Oregon. So Now he's got close to 15,000 passing yards. He's the number one returning passing leader in college football.
Yep.
And he may end up being the all-time passing leader as a quarterback. Hard to believe. I think he's from Hawaii, St. Louis Catholic School. And they just keep, Tua was from Hawaii. Unbelievable. And if Hawaii could keep Talon at home, they might have a pretty good football team. All right, let's talk about Tennessee. What did you hear from Josh Heupel today that made you think, wow, I got to put Tennessee in the mix? He's got this quarterback. They didn't bring him. Nico Iamaleava. We saw him in the game against Iowa in the bowl game New Year's Day. They shredded Iowa.
Shredded.
Iowa wins 10 games because their defense is so good. Their offense.
But they couldn't score.
Their offense is as exciting as watching tar dry. And Kirk Ferentz, they've only had 2 coaches at Iowa in the last 43 years. But Nico goes out there and he lights it up. They didn't bring James Pierce, the edge rusher. He might be the number one player taken on draft day.
Mm-hmm.
They got Amari Thomas back for a second year. Big defensive tackle.
That dude was
It's
fun
impressive.
to talk to.
Yeah, we talked to his parents today on the way out the door to go to lunch. His mom's here, his dad, and everybody. Big bunch of Tennessee fans down in the lobby.
Well, and
Let's talk about the Vols.
yeah. Well, tell me. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. Coop, the offensive lineman, the center.
Okay.
What's his name? Cooper.
Oh, Cooper Mays.
Cooper
Yeah,
Mays.
Cooper Mays.
Okay, I talked to him, and if the Football Writers Association of America had a preseason All-American team, Coop would be on it.
Yeah.
Okay, and Tennessee has not had an All-American lineman on the offensive line since 2020, and that was Trey Smith. Okay.
Yeah, and Jackson, Tennessee, Central Mary Prep.
Okay. So I asked him, your name's being tossed around a lot on a lot of these preseason lists. And if we had one, you'd be on it.
Yeah.
And he's a big old boy. Plus, he was wearing a really nice cowboy hat today, too. I gave him a big compliment on that.
Yeah,
you look good in that hat.
Well,
And
Knoxville Catholic, I might add, like his brother, went to Knoxville Catholic High School.
so, I think, I think that, Heupel has only been there 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
It's 3 years.
And but he's got a great offensive line, defensive line. I mean, I love talking to Amari, and he was so fun.
Yeah.
And I had fun talking to all those guys because we were talking about who's the real UT. Is it University of Tennessee or University of Texas?
Well, question here for you, and we're gonna go to Bo in a second.
Yep.
The battle for UT. Somebody put on social media a couple of weeks ago. What is a Vol? During the Texas A&M Tennessee College World Series, what is a Vol? And somebody out there in the Twixosphere, Twitter and X, whatever, in the Twittersphere, replied, "What is a volunteer? He's the reason why you're not Mexico A&M."
That's correct.
Something to think about.
That is correct.
Something to think about.
Dave Shockett and
Yeah.
the whole gang. Yes, that's
So-
exactly
So
right.
your thoughts?
Mexico A&M.
So you're gonna be where are you gonna be putting your stories up on Tennessee? And you covered today.
I'm
Tennessee.
putting it. I'm tweeting. It's all going to be at FWA, FWAA. I'm tweeting it all.
Okay.
I'm tweeting it all. But I want to mention one other thing before Bo comes on.
Yeah.
For all the Texas fans out there, so I talked about this. We have the big controversy that's coming to the SEC because we had the director of officials today, and
John McDade.
upside down horns, people, upside down horns. And so again, I had to write this down, how it's going to be enforced in the SEC. And I really like John a lot, because he's very open.
Yeah.
And a lot of officials, they don't want to talk about anything, or they're very, they always want to, they sound like the Secret Service.
Yeah.
That's under investigation.
Yeah.
We can't talk about that.
I can't confirm or deny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's so great. And here's what he said. So it's going to be 3 criteria for if there was an upside down horns penalty. Is it taunting? Okay. So is it in your face?
Yeah.
Number 2, right? Okay. is it making a travesty of the game? Now, I'm not really sure what that means.
Yeah.
Is it a travesty of the game?
Yeah.
But okay. And then number 3, is it otherwise compromising our ability to manage the game?
Yeah.
So it sounded like to me that it sets a pretty high bar for upside down horns to be called.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing he told me, because I pulled him off to the side and asked him about this. And he said, Ken, fans are always griping about officials inserting themselves in the game and changing the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
If we call upside down horns, that's going to be a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty. That's going to give a first down.
Yeah.
That's going to maybe keep somebody from punting.
Yeah.
All kinds of different things that will change possibly the outcome of the game. So we're going to think long and hard about that. So I got the impression it's not going to be called very often.
Let me just say this: can't y'all just wait till we have the first review? Was the hand down enough to constitute a horns down?
Right.
Now the right wrist folded here, but it was stopped by the Texas fan who grabbed him
and then
and threw a drink in his face.
Right. And now they'll circle it. They'll circle it.
Yes, they'll circle it, go in slow motion. Here he goes.
Well, and the other thing, it has to be on the field.
Yes.
The field of play.
Yes.
If it's on the sidelines or anywhere else,
You're correct, sir.
Doesn't count. Doesn't count. So I wanted to make sure now that the Texas fans understand what that is, because some people get really mad about it. Some people don't care. Some people says, well, we're glad we're always in everybody's head.
Yeah.
But that's always something that comes up. And I don't know if y'all remember this, but Will Greer with West Virginia.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that call? What he did against Texas at home? He was running away from the entire defense. On one, he had the ball under his hand, and he was running like this. I believe that would fit the criteria right here.
Didn't Will Greer transfer from University of Florida? I thought so. Yeah. Yeah.
To West Virginia.
Yeah, to West Virginia. Look, now can you confirm this? Maybe you won't confirm it or not. Is the state flower in West Virginia the satellite dish?
No.
Man.
Ken, we're gonna get Bo, and then we're gonna get Vince on, because we're gonna have Vince close us out talking some Tennessee.
But hey, man, it was a great day. It was a great
awesome
day.
Awesome day. And guess what? We're gonna talk some Tennessee with him. I saw Josh Heupel, Tennessee's soon to be 4th-year coach.
Right.
And I talked to him just all by himself for about 3 minutes. And I said, "Leave this shirt here." I said, "What size are you?" And he said, "I'm 2XL." So Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. We're mailing it to Josh Heupel. And I love that. JW, can you spell that? Well, it's a common spelling. There's H in there somewhere. But Josh Heupel, we got a Tennessee Vols shirt exclusively. Look at this thing, folks. You can get these at HewlettandDunn.com. We got one on the way. And
so what are you wearing tomorrow?
Well, he will be wearing it. It'll probably be there by Friday to Knoxville, and he'll be wearing it proudly. And Hewlett and Dunn exclusively. But I'm telling you what, this media day thing, there's so many storylines. So,
yes.
Like we'll be doing it again tomorrow, and we got our Irish friend coming on.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's his name?
It's not Seamus.
It's not Seamus, but I'm trying to think. He's from, where's he from?
He's actually from Scotland.
Scotland.
Me.
All right.
But this
covering college football.
This dude is covering college football over here from Scotland to cover SEC Media Days, and he's a college football freak. So he's gonna be here, and I'm doing a story on him for Football Writers, because we got it, and we're gonna make him a member.
Yep.
Okay.
Football Writers too.
We'll bring him on board. All right.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for doing it, man. Enjoy it always, man. All right, let Bo get on here real quick, and then we're gonna have Vince Ferrara, y'all. Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal from Knoxville is going to join us here in a minute, and I'm going to tell you something. All these SEC people in town. I think we got over 1,200. We talked to Herb Vincent and is it Chuck Dunlap and Mark Womack. I asked Mark. I said, "Mark, you've been 30 years?" He goes, 47 with the SEC office.
It's true.
47. So, man, there's a lot of storylines, as we said. So we start off, like we said, Kirby Smart. First thing this morning, they are just a well-oiled machine. Then you got Josh Heupel, Brent Venables, Oklahoma, Eli Drinkwitz. I hadn't talked about him, but that guy, they're sneaky good. I had Luther Burden, Brady Cook here. Luther Burden, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. I think he's the best player in the SEC pound for pound.
He probably is. And, they won the Cotton Bowl last year. This is like Oklahoma went from after beating Ohio State 13-2 in a pitcher's duel.
Yeah, well, and I can't help the fact that Ohio State had a bunch of quitters on the team. Nothing was bad, though, with Florida State. 31 guys went AWOL, and Georgia just scored again, 63-3, something like that. That ought to be ashamed of themselves. All right, your thoughts, anything that Kirby Smart said about Georgia, college football in general that caught your attention? I know you're copiously taking notes over there like all great reporters.
Well, two things. I was supposed to bring this up yesterday, but Ken had pointed out so ably during the question and answer said that Vanderbilt and South Carolina are the only two teams that have winning series records against the Longhorns, 8-3-1.
You're
they haven't
correct.
played in 96 years.
Yeah, since 1928.
1928.
The year my dad was born, I might add.
That's the rabbit trail. Vandy, Texas was the State Fair game of Texas, second week in October from 1921 to 1928.
Was Big Tex there?
Big Tex was
there.
Up there.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Texas State Fair.
Sorry to digress.
Yeah, well, look, nothing wrong, but if Big Tex could join us on the show, could we get Big Tex out in the yard? No, he stands about 70 feet tall, or could we say 840 inches?
No, but getting back to Kirby, he didn't really come right up. But Georgia got the really bad end of the schedule. I mean, they got Alabama, Texas.
Yeah.
And,
somebody
really
asked about that.
They got Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
They dropped Vanderbilt after 65 years.
Yeah.
That was an automatic win.
Well,
they really, I don't know how. I'm still trying to figure out if they drew names out of a hat or whatever. The whole SEC schedule, and they're going to take the top two teams, no divisions this year.
Yeah.
So, man, it is going to be a darn. I mean,
it's kind of like Powerball.
Vince probably knows the tiebreaker procedure. I haven't figured. If you have four teams with 6-2 records, how do you deal that? How you're going to get the coin flip out?
I'm thinking that somewhere at NASA they have the tiebreaker thing being worked on with a lot of guys with rayon short sleeve shirts with pocket protectors coming up with the formula with Coke bottle glasses.
Slide rule.
Yeah, a bunch of guys that look like Michael Douglas in the movie Falling Down. We're coming up with a figure. So, all right, let's move on to Tennessee. Rocky Top. My wife Audrey, she's watching this. She's evolved for life. I got to talk to Josh. I like that guy. He's from Aberdeen, South Dakota. I've hunted pheasants for years and sharp-tailed grouse and hunts up there in South Dakota. They are great people up there. Yeah. He goes to Oklahoma, wins the national championship, runner-up for the Heisman. I think he loves being at Tennessee. He is just eaten up with the culture. And Vince is going to get into it in a minute. He gets to talk to him a lot at the Sports Channel in Knoxville. But what about Josh Heupel? This is year 4, and he's recruiting like a championship program.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bob Stoops is sort of, they've talked about Bob Stoops and Brent Venables, defense coordinator when he went up there.
Yeah.
He's like a sponge. He soaked all those great theories and coaching ability to recruit or whatever. And he's doing it in Tennessee now. I mean, Tennessee's like been the sleeping giant of the SEC for about 2. Remember the great teams with Johnny Majors and then
Phil Fulmer,
Bill Battle, Phil Fulmer, national champion. Eli Manning. Peyton Manning, the whole deal, and now they've sort of awakened the giant. I think Heupel's the person to take them to that next level. Yeah,
and they went 15 losses in a row to Alabama. They beat them, and then last year they jumped on top of Alabama early. Don't close the deal. There's several players for Tennessee that really jump out. James Pierce, the edge rusher, and we'll talk about him. He could be the top player taken on draft day. Omari Thomas, back-to-back at SEC Media Days. I can't remember anyone ever being back-to-back at SEC Media Days. I got to, again, credit it, folks. You can tell where I stand about this stuff. I saw his mom downstairs. I said, didn't you teach at St. Paul's Catholic School in Memphis. She still does. And Omari went there until he went to Briarcrest. But big time player. I said, your son plays for Coach G, Rodney Garner. He and Bo Davis, I think the two best defensive line coaches in America. And then, you talked about Cooper Mays.
Mm-hmm.
With the Knoxville Catholic.
Yeah,
I mean, the Catholics, taking over the world. Everybody get out of the way. Yeah, they do. But let's talk about this Tennessee. I talked to an NIL collective director last week. He said in the past in recruiting, and he's just an anonymous guy, but he said in the past there were 3 C's in recruiting: cash, clothes, cars. He said the 3 C's now are culture, campus, coaching. Tennessee brought in $62 million in donations last year. They finished 3rd in the Sears Cup. They won the Bernie Moore Award for the top overall athletic department in the Southeastern Conference this year. It's great to be a Tennessee Volunteer right now.
It really is. I mean, you talk about they've got the whole thing going. Danny White, the AD, is really a sharp character cookie. I mean, they've got Rick Barnes on the all-time favorite. Yeah. And then
you know where he's from, don't you?
Yeah, it was somewhere in North Carolina.
Hickory, North Carolina. Did he go to a Catholic school? Did anyone?
He probably learned how to make furniture. When
That's
he was
right.
Years old.
And by the way, there's a lot of Amish furniture marts up there around Hickory.
Too.
I was up there in February, as they say in the South.
Tony Vitello, the national championship in baseball.
Yeah.
Pitching coach Frank Anderson.
Who's gonna sing them songs? As George Jones said.
Right.
Who's gonna beat the Vols in baseball? Josh Heupel was at the World Series. So was Rick Barnes. So was Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, you know what his future is? He's going to be the next day. Him or Paul Feinbaum need to take over that late night role that David Letterman held back when late night TV was funny.
Okay.
But Josh Heupel is a very smart guy. Can Tennessee get to the playoff? They got enough? They deep enough?
I think they get. The weird thing is, you could have a team in the playoff this year that does make the SEC championship game. They've got the SEC and the Big Ten and the 3 guaranteed spots. So, and you could. I agree too. A couple of people said I think there can be some 2 lost teams in the play. No doubt about it this year, especially with the 12 teams. Right today, you really like you inferred earlier. These 4 teams are definitely in the top 5 or 6 somewhere in the conference. No doubt about it.
And we're going to get more into Tennessee here in a minute with Vince Ferrara. But, again, it's so important to get these reporters, Ken Capps, you, Vince Ferrara, because y'all work your asses off getting the story, okay? Let's see. Wow. George Somerville. George Somerville, the touchdown UK, the Scottish guy. But I want to tell you, my friend, I'll be talking some college football with you. I'm looking forward to it, man. We're gonna have haggis for him up here when he comes. Haggis is delicious. But let me say this: we talk now about Oklahoma, and I'm trying to get Ken's perspective, your perspective. So there may be some diametrically opposing arguments on either side. But God Almighty, man, Boomer Singers, and this is a question from. R.D. Mercer, he texted me from Tahlequah, Oklahoma. He said, for people that don't know what a Boomer Sooner is, tell them.
Well, you have to remember Oklahoma, the 1889 land rush, or a few of the folks jumped the gun. They're the Sooners, which is probably it's kind of a pejorative term, but they actually they try to beat folks out. And of course, I think Oklahoma's the national capital of all the Native American nations.
Yeah. It is.
Cherokee,
absolutely.
And they own every casino between here and Kansas City. They're doing very well financially.
It's unbelievable. When you're driving from Arkansas into Oklahoma, when you cross the state line, the first sign you see is "Welcome 10 Killer State Recreation Area." Oklahoma, these people are so jacked up about coming in the conference.
Oh,
man. And I think about Boomer Sooner, and I think about what Oklahoma football, the governor of Oklahoma during the 30s, during the Dust Bowl era, the Great Depression, you think about the great novelist John Steinbeck that wrote The Grapes of Wrath, all these people leaving Oklahoma and heading west. And these are tough-ass people. And I think about our friend growing up, Buddy Leak, who was part of that 52 backfield with Bud Wilkinson and Billy Vessels.
Yep.
He got hurt, and Buddy came in as a freshman and ran for 952 yards. I got to say this. a graduate of Christian Brothers High School, great Catholic school since 1871 in Memphis. In 1871, over 150 years. It's a different location, but golly, man, Boomer Sooner. Do they ride that wagon around on the field? Do they take it on the road? And do they have to drive it by horse to all the road games?
Oh yeah, and they leave divots. You better have a really good sod base because that thing will leave a divot.
Remember, it turned over a few years ago.
It's turned over. They have a girl on there, waving some kind of a thing.
So
yeah, with the gun.
So let's say when Oklahoma plays at Auburn, that game is September 28th. They'll basically leave right after the game and spend the week getting down there.
It's like Bevo when they have to take them on the road and then
Yeah.
Bevo wagon or whatever.
Well, does
There's
Bevo
some long road trips to the Mascot?
has Bevo ever attacked the Boomer Sooner? Think about that. We see.
He attacked the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yes,
years ago.
he did that. All right, last one.
Oh, okay.
Eli Drinkwitz. This guy from Alma, Arkansas. He was born in he was born in Norman. Barry Trammell, formerly of the Daily Oklahoman, now the Tulsa World, longtime writer for Oklahoma, asked a question. He said, Eli, you and I were born in the same hospital, but you took a different path. And he said, well, I always used to come home to Oklahoma for Christmas and to visit, but family got jobs in Arkansas. I like that guy, man. He's got a great selection of shoes. I don't know if he's got bowling shoes in there, but he's got some great high tops.
Yes.
And the guy's smart.
He's a very ethereal coach.
Yeah. Now listen, a lot of these young writers and podcasters out there that are watching us, it's okay to use a thesaurus for some fancy words. It's okay. I mean,
ChatGPT.
Terms like diametrically opposing, that's not a disease, okay? Unequivocally, or
ethereal.
Bo seems to be vacillating on whether or not there's actually been an attack by Bevo on the Boomer Sooner.
That's right.
What would you take away from Eli Drinkwitz? Because again, he's one of those guys that you want to see do well.
They got everybody coming back on offense, except the good running back who won the Burlsworth Award.
Cody Schrader, 672 yards, a D2 transfer.
I know. Can you believe that?
Wow.
It's the world of and Drinkwitz had a good point in one of the other conferences. He said the days of the 3 or 4 year starting quarterback are over. He said people are just remember they used to laugh. They said Saban would go out and have a draft. Draft day. You need a linebacker, you need a defensive back, quarterback. And one report had a Colorado State claimed that one of their quarterbacks was being pilfered for $600,000 NIL deal. So man, it is the wild west with the elephants loose. Honestly,
Can Missouri? They're putting $250 million into a renovation of the end zone above the rocks. Those rocks are tradition.
Oh yeah,
up there. We know about the rocks. It's not red rocks like Colorado, a great amphitheater, but it's pretty cool. There's a lot of money up there. I think between Kansas City and St. Louis, there's also a lot of small towns. About 6 million people in that state. They got a very aggressive NIL deal. But there's only 6 colleges in America that have a vet school, a law school, and a medical school. Missouri's one of them. I think he's got a lot to sell.
It really does. They've traditionally been good. Remember, they used to knock off Oklahoma and Nebraska every year.
Yeah.
The Big 8, and they Gary Pinkel, Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame coach, came in and won consistently 8 or 10 years. I think he just finally sort of got burned out a little bit. He left the cover pretty full for Drinkwitz, and they're carrying it on.
Well, I tell you what, you look at 2007, Gary Pinkel's team. Missouri won, Kansas 2 in the border war. Mark Mangino was at Kansas. 10 of the 11 starters on offense from Missouri were in-state kids. The one out-of-stater was Chase Daniel from the Lone Star State of Texas.
South Lake Carroll.
South Lake Carroll.
You're in the Metroplex.
In the Metroplex, and I might add that. But golly, they've done it before. And I think you will become what your thoughts are. If you study the Stoics, the great Emperor Marcus Aurelius, you become what your thoughts are. You think Missouri makes the playoff this year?
They might. They've got they've got horsepower. They always talk about the trenches. They've got and Venables talked about this too. Oklahoma has big kids. They've got quick kids. That's where and that's that's going to be the major difference for Texas Oklahoma this year. I mean, the SEC is deeper and probably stronger offensive defensive lines.
Yeah.
No offense. I mean, I'm trying to belittle the Big 12, but it's. I mean, you better come ready.
They're good.
After every game, you're going to get beaten up pretty badly physically. So, man, you better have 2 or 3 guys ready to back you up.
And one last thing, Tyler Siskey was on the show a few weeks ago, and Tyler's coached at Alabama. He's coached at Ole Miss. He knows his football. And he said in the past what separated the SEC from a lot of the other leagues was that second and third guy on the depth chart. Now with the transfer portal, it's not exactly like it used to be. Okay? And the number of quality offensive linemen are not as many as there used to be because everything's about the 7-on-7 skill camps. Okay? If you had to right now, if I were to bet you a steamer pack of crystals, a box of fluorescent bulbs, and a 30 rack of Hamm's beer, would you pick Missouri to make the playoff this year over Tennessee? Yes or no?
It's sort of hedge, but I think they're really about even. I mean, both of them could be 11 or 12 win teams easily.
I'm not looking at the schedule right now. Do they play each other this year, Missouri and Tennessee?
No.
I don't think so. No.
That's been a good rivalry.
Yeah.
And that's where Josh Heupel was
Yep.
before. No, that was Derek Dooley.
Derek Dooley.
But wasn't Josh Heupel at Tennessee?
He was at Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Missouri.
yeah,
He took their offense from 13th or 14th in the league and got it up near the top.
Coach Drew Lobb.
Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, again, and we got to call the NASA people to figure out the tiebreakers.
Yeah,
but
somebody.
if you don't have head-to-head, I mean, there's going to be somewhere down there, the 3rd, 4th, or 5th, or maybe the top 3 or 4. It's going to be just a dead heat up there. And I don't see anybody going 8-0 in the SEC. I'll be honest with you, unless somebody just gets something like Alabama, Texas, or somebody, Tennessee maybe get on a roll. I don't think there's going to be I may be wrong.
Tiebreakers haven't been decided yet.
Yeah.
No, that's
See,
what I'll be
and here we are. What are we now? I mean, we're getting really
6
close.
weeks, 5 weeks.
We're getting really close to the season. 46 days away from the start of college football season. They better get that figured out.
Yeah.
All right, Bo, we got another big day tomorrow. Thank you, and I'm going to get Vince Ferrara from Sports Animal on here. But great stuff, man. Bo Carter, veteran journalist, National Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America. Now we're going to bring in Vince Ferrara, proud native son at Tampa, USF, covers Tennessee up in Knoxville, the Sports Animal, catching Monday through Friday, 5 to 8 a.m., and that is Eastern.
No, Central. Yeah, that wake-up call was a little
Yeah,
tougher.
5 to 8 a.m., 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Okay.
Yes.
So you're doing it every day. Also part of the Ball Baseball Network with the voice of the Balls, John Wilkerson. And we had these two guys on together on the show a couple of weeks ago. That was pretty damn cool. All right. I'm getting all the thoughts from everybody on these 4 teams today. You started off with Kirby Smart. It's great being Kirby Smart in the state of Georgia. Every week you get a new F-150, red and black. You ride around the state. You don't pay for anything. Life is good. Josh Heupel, I mean, my God, everybody in the state's naming their kids or their dogs Smokey. Things are good. There's a lot of positive karma with Tennessee. And then you had Brent Venables. He just looks like a football coach. The first time I've ever seen one of the coaches, when he would come up for his interviews, take off his cowboy hat. I mean, he fits the bill. And then Eli Drinkwitz, guy's brilliant. He's smart. So let's start with Georgia. Your takeaways from them, what you saw, and what maybe you didn't know that you want to tell everybody.
I think they're the best team in college football. I wondered, I think I brought this up to you, I wonder if with all of the regional media here, if Texas is going to get enough votes to be picked SEC champion. Because look, Alabama has gotten the benefit of the doubt with all of their local media before. But I wonder if there's going to be enough, or they may be here, but do they cast their vote? So it's close enough in those projections to where that could be a factor. But they have the best roster. They have experience.
Yeah.
They're a machine right now. And I know Kirby Smart, like he said, the best team. Somebody asked him about, how good is Texas? He's like, well, everybody's the best team in the country when we play him, and that's the next game. So he's about that Saban process mentality.
Yep.
It's part of what makes them so great and
Yep.
why they are the new Alabama with their machine that they have rolling right now. So I have confidence because they didn't win last year that they will bounce back and they will be tough to beat. And they also have the best quarterback in college football, in my opinion. So that is a difference maker also.
Well, he stuck it out. This is his 4th year in the program.
Yeah.
Georgia's quarterback room is all Florida kids. Carson Beck is from Jacksonville. And he could have left, but he stayed. And he's a leader. He runs that locker room. And I'm with you about Georgia. Both sides, they're at 80% on that blue chip index. Again, Ohio State number 1 at 90%. Bama second at 88%. Ken covers Texas. He's a Texas grad. We're talking about, Bo's out here. They know the Big 12 really well. The grind. And then what about this battle? Who's the real UT? Somebody needs to start pushing that. University of Texas, University of Tennessee. There would be no Texas without the Tennesseans.
I think it's already been pushed. So it's out there. They're already talking about it for sure. Tennessee says, I think both sides probably look at it like there's no conversation. Like, you guys are out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're the real UT. And Tennessee fans will just make fun of it and be like, hey, you guys wouldn't even, without us, you wouldn't even be where you're at. So you can just go back and forth in history and all that kind of fun stuff. So, that will be something they'll be able to throw back at each other. And then the whole, the real color orange.
Yeah.
Tennessee fans don't say, no, it's not orange, it's brown. And all that kind of stuff. So they'll just keep going back and forth on it. So, it's fun. And then Saban was hilarious on Texas, too, saying, hey, they ran the other league they were in. And I think it tickles me that they come in here and, they ran that other league. They're not going to run the SEC. So they will be a challenger, awfully good. But, not on Tennessee's schedule. Hopefully that will happen pretty soon.
Yeah, and you think about Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma. Golly, these are such tradition-rich programs.
Mm-hmm.
And what Commissioner Sankey said Monday morning in his opening remarks, where you look at the tents at Hoover. That's a great example of we need more of this in America today. Tennessee fans under an Oklahoma tent with Auburn and Florida fans all hanging out and drinking road sodas and eating. But that's a great thing about college athletics. We keep hearing stuff like, it's always darkest before dawn. The portal, the NIL is ruining everything. This sport's idiot-proof. David Whitley said that a few weeks ago. I was on the Buddy Martin show. He's with the Gainesville Sun. Tony Barnhart, not even the adults can screw it up. I mean, I'm with them. I'm just not seeing it. I think there's a lot of people out there. I think they're so negative that a lot of the people in the media, this narrative, they would have lamented the death of the candle when the light bulb was invented. It's crazy.
There's probably an element of that. I think the fact that it's so different, like, change is hard for people to comprehend. If you're invested in college athletics for a long time, you've been covering it for a long time, and you have emotion in it, you have pride and history in it, and then they change that, you kind of take that personally, and you have a hard time adjusting to it. And look, the fans aren't crazy about it either.
Yeah.
But they still go to the games.
Yeah.
They're still watching.
Yeah.
They're still commenting about it on social media to drive all of those platforms up. So complain or not complain, the train keeps moving, and it's not stopping for anyone.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
It's not. And one thing we don't see out here in Dallas is the fans, like we see in Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
That guy with the ring on his head, the Alabama guy, I think he gets out of the nervous hospital every year and gets his privileges. But I miss that guy. I wish he was here.
I did have one inebriated fan that came up to us while we were setting up on Sunday. He wanted to just chit-chat away. We're like, man, we got to get set up.
You got to get set up.
But
we're strictly business. No fun, no shenanigans here.
Fun of any kind.
No fun of any kind. No more fun of any kind. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Okay, so you talked about, Georgia, Tennessee, we're going to go to Oklahoma. Tennessee will play Oklahoma in Norman, September 21st, first day of fall or the last day of summer. You take your pick. But that's a big game. Tennessee and Oklahoma have had some good games. We all remember the meltdown up in Knoxville, Tennessee and Oklahoma, and I think Josh Heupel was on the staff, wasn't he, at Oklahoma at that time?
No, I don't think so.
But that was a big time game.
Yeah.
You were there.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That was the first undoing of Butch Jones.
Yeah.
Inside the 1 yard line, an opportunity to make a statement and get a touchdown, and he's kicking a field goal. Just the fans, he couldn't get the fans back from that. Oh, by the way, then they lost thanks to Baker Mayfield's heroics, and then they couldn't tackle him. That was another problem.
Yeah.
So, that game really started the negativity towards Butch Jones. So, they've had some fun games, and they were before they went to Norman. They were competitive, but that was the game that really started the ball rolling. They had other embarrassing, coaching decisions after that, but that was the first tough one. But this Tennessee-Oklahoma game, this is a swing game for both of these two teams, and I also think it is one. It's connected to the college football playoff because I think both of these two teams are on the cusp. We were talking about it earlier. Both of them are within striking range. If you can get to 10 wins, you're right there from the SEC. But if you don't, you're on the outside looking in. I also think that this is could potentially be one of the biggest overreaction games out of the entire SEC schedule.
Are you telling me that fans overreact?
But this is overreaction squared.
Yes.
Because think about it, if Oklahoma loses at home in their first SEC game to Josh Heupel in Tennessee, how they're going to react? Woo! And then they're going to feel like their season's over because guess what? They have the most difficult schedule in the conference. If you take the opponent win totals based on Vegas, their opponents have the most wins. Missouri and Tennessee down at the bottom. So it's so low.
What about Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Texas, and Tennessee. All these top teams in the projected standings, Oklahoma plays a bunch of them. And if Oklahoma wins that game, think about the chest out for them. They beat Heupel in Tennessee. Now they're going to feel like they can get into the college football playoff. I think it's going to be a huge overreaction again. And then same thing with Tennessee. If they lose that game, that's the swing game to 10 or 9. Then they're like, oh, man, now we're going to lose to Florida because they always beat us when they're not any good.
Yeah.
And then, I got Georgia and Alabama and all that. But if they win that game, then you talk about chest out for the college football playoff, and you win. Nico, in his first true road game, first SEC game, if he wins and plays well, then it's Heisman talk, it's college football playoff. It is on.
Yeah.
So that game, I think, more will be taken out of it than maybe any other game.
Well, there's going to be talk from Oklahoma. This is the biggest on-campus game ever.
Yeah.
Because they play Texas always in Dallas.
Right.
Big Tex, howdy, folks. But they'll be playing in Norman this year. And you're talking Tennessee, the 9th winningest program in the history of college football. Oklahoma's like 6th. Texas is like 4. Bama's 5. Georgia's like 10. LSU's 11. Auburn's 12. It's a crowded house. That's a pretty good band in the 90s too, I think. But I'm with you. You look at a school like Florida that talk about that tough schedule they got. If they're 6-1, 7-0, going into that last 5, they come out of that at the worst probably 3-2, 2-3. Yeah, you're right. What you do for 1 week sets you up for the next week.
In the fans' mind,
for
sure.
Psychologically.
Now, the reality could be that the winner of that Tennessee-Oklahoma game could lay an egg after that. Like if Tennessee beats Oklahoma and then loses to Florida, then they're going to be distraught again. And you're wondering why Tennessee can't beat Florida even when they're really bad. And there are a lot of Tennessee fans think that Florida is just pure garbage this year with Billy Napier.
They're out of their mind.
But Oklahoma as well. If they lose that game, I think now your confidence level goes way down. So it's massive, especially considering what's to come after.
Well, the theme song for the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas coming in, remember Martha and the Vandells, Nowhere to Hide? That's the song. Because Tennessee, hey man, you go on the road and you beat Oklahoma in Norman. You get to come back home and play your nemesis, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida, when they play Tennessee, it's like they could be some guy in an iron lung who can barely breathe, but suddenly when he sees Tennessee, he breathes flawlessly. It's the weekly grind and Oklahoma's going to have to get used to that.
Right.
But those guys out there, Oklahoma and Texas have winning records against damn near everybody in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, man. It's going to be overreaction Sunday. That's going to be a new segment. We might have to do an overreaction podcast on Sundays, like going, okay, where do we start?
And I don't know if you got a chance to talk to him, Chris Plank from the Sooners Radio.
I did go over and talk to him. Chris Plank, the sideline reporter for the Sooner Network, is going to be on with us, and we talked to Tyler McComas from KREF Radio. He does a great show from 2 to 6 Monday through Friday in Oak City and Norman. He's going to come on with us. Look, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You walk up and down Radio Road, and y'all have seen it. Thank God we've got executive producer Brendan Martin here calling in airstrikes. There's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes. It's like I always. It's kind of like Mark Twain said: if you like the law or sausage, don't ever watch either one of them.
No, especially my sausage.
If you like live TV or podcasting or shows, don't ask what goes on to make it happen.
Nope.
But I think what's so cool, there's so many people down on radio, podcast. It's the visual medium. It's everything. And tomorrow, good God, it's going to be great. Missouri. Let's talk about Tennessee doesn't play Missouri this year.
Yeah.
But Heupel was at Missouri for a couple of years.
Yeah.
The guy's won everywhere he's been. Well, people will figure him out. I don't think so. I just don't see it.
Joe Milton offensively, when he was a quarterback, that's the first year they had any sort of drop-off in offensive stats. Like every year, freshman quarterback, veteran quarterback, anywhere he has been, they've put up massive numbers on offense. And a lot of people point to that quarterback being the reason why they had a little bit of a drop-off. Still, when you look at it nationally in the SEC, it wasn't bad. But it wasn't explosive like it was in 2022 and every other year under Josh Heupel. I do think that's going to change under Nico because they're going to be more explosive down the field, more accurate down the field than they were with Milton last year. So I think you're going to see those numbers come back, and he's a great coach. He's really good on mismatches. Now, as far as Missouri goes, they don't play each other, but man, there's some increased venom between the two. Remember, Tennessee took Missouri behind the woodshed, like consecutive years of scoring more than 60 points and beating them down, including a late touchdown that Eli Drinkwitz did not forget.
Yeah.
So when Missouri won convincingly against Tennessee last year at their place, the whole handshake where Drinkwitz went out of his way to shake his hand sort of in a drive-by and telling Heupel, we stand on business. And so now that's their slogan. We stand on
That's
business.
my slogan now.
We stand on business.
A lot of athletes are starting to say that too. So he was feeling good about sticking it back to Tennessee with that one. But it is Missouri is competitive now.
Yeah.
So they can get back at people with their quarterback, and you mentioned Luther Burden at wide receiver. So they're a good competitive team. We'll see where they are because both of them have pretty favorable SEC schedules overall.
Yeah, they do. And the teams that you think here July 16th at 6:09 p.m. Central that aren't going to be good could be really good.
Missouri was
supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Are supposed to be good, could be bad. A couple of guys could get in trouble, could get injured,
Right.
whatever. But, man, this 16-team league, we're halfway through media days.
Mhm.
Tomorrow, we've got, Texas,
Florida.
Alabama, and Florida,
Mississippi State.
and Mississippi State.
Lucky day.
Wow. It's gonna be a great year. Look, we're gonna wrap this up. Great show today. Thanks to our sponsors, all of our sponsors at Sidelines.live, especially our title sponsor for this trip, Web-Footed Kennels in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Looking for a great hunting dog, finding out what litters are on the ground. I've known Chris Aiken, the owner, for 30 years, okay? Solid as a rock. As they say, he's good people. brand work. He does the trials all over the country. Hardcore duck hunter, but just one of the finest people you'll meet. Proud to be associated with them and their support. RumbleBoxingGym.com in Memphis. Hey, how you fight is how you live. Gaddis Home Innovation. All of our great sponsors. Watch us. Tell your friends, families, and neighbors about us. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 for a quick 5-minute update. Back on tomorrow afternoon. We'll keep you posted. Kind of a different schedule this week, but watch us. Take care.